Hello, I'm Andrew Mull, the Director of Advocacy for AARP Louisiana. Thank you all for joining us this morning and participating in this live telephone town hall. AARP is a nonprofit, nonpartisan member organization and has been working to promote the health and well-being of older Americans for more than 60 years. As you're probably well aware, in recent months, a handful of insurance companies have canceled tens of thousands of homeowners policies in Louisiana, leaving residents scrambling to find new coverage. They're faced with limited choices, and not only are they being forced to turn to other carriers, their premiums have also increased significantly. And that's why we've invited Louisiana Department of Insurance Deputy Commissioner Ron Henderson to talk to you today about what our state's insurance office is doing to help and how they're reducing costs for homeowners. They'll also give you some tips about what to do if your insurance company has dropped you or hasn't paid outstanding claims. Be sure to have a pen and paper handy so you can take good notes. Before I turn to our guests for comments, I'd like to quickly go over how you can ask a question during today's conversation. Keep in mind, this is an interactive forum, and after hearing our brief opening presentation, you'll have the chance to ask questions live on the call, and we'll do our best to answer them. If you'd like to ask a question at any time during this call, just press *3 on your telephone keypad to be connected with an AARP staff member. We'll note your name and your number and your question, and they'll place it in queue. The sooner you press *3, the sooner you'll be online with our guest. And if you're watching us on Facebook, please leave your question in the comments section. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest for today's call, Louisiana Department of Insurance Deputy Commissioner Ron Henderson. Mr. Henderson currently serves under the Office of Consumer Advocacy and Diversity, and Ron serves as the Deputy Commissioner with that office and oversees the Senior Health Insurance Information Program, which has assisted over 70,000 Medicare recipients in Louisiana. He's got over 23 years of experience in the insurance industry, which includes an emphasis on insurance compliance and government regulations, along with consumer education, which again is why we've got him here today. Ron, you there? Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, I am. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Ron, is there anything you'd like to share with our audience before we jump right in?
Well, we have upcoming session. We have hurricane season upcoming, so we're going to answer a few questions here about being prepared and how to be prepared. So, whenever you're ready to get started, let's go.
All right. Well, we'll jump right in. It's been all over the news for the past several months, and the legislature just wrapped up a special session earlier this month to address some of these issues that we're going to be talking about. As we all know, insurance companies have been pulling out of Louisiana. That's been leaving residents in limbo since before last hurricane season. So, first question, really, to you, Ron, is what solutions and what plans are on the table currently as we head into yet another hurricane season in just a couple short months?
Yeah, we've been really hustling to try to make things happen, just like we did last year. We got the incentive program passed, and then we had to go into a special session this February to get the incentive program funded. It is just a long battle to make sure we get enough companies in here to write the business. 2022-23 session, we're going to have as a centerpiece of our legislative package will be our fortified homes program. So we're looking at very different types of problem-solving techniques to try to get at the core of this issue. We have a lot of insurers that left or went under, and we're just trying to get more insurers into the market. That will alleviate a lot of the pressure that we're seeing right now.
If you're a consumer and we're looking at roughly 3 months before the official start of hurricane season, what can a consumer do right now to prepare for a possible storm that could pop up sometime over the summer?
First and foremost, read the policy. Oh my gosh. It is imperative that you go through and read and understand a number of different sections in that policy. If you have not read that policy prior to hurricane season or prior to something happening, you are at a severe disadvantage, because reading the policy after something has happened, if you can find it, is just not going to help you, because now you're panicked. You're looking for some help. You may be out of your home. You can't get to the home to get the policy. So you need to make sure that you really understand how that policy works. Know the difference between your declarations page and your policy information. Declarations page is just an outline. It tells you what's in the policy, how much it costs, what's insured, who's the owner of the policy, name of the insurance company and the agent. But that's just a scant outline of what's actually in the policy. So you have to go back into the policy language to make sure that you're covered for the things that you need to be covered for. Secondly, is get flood insurance. You got to get flood insurance if you can afford it, if it's available to your area. Um, at this time, I know it's becoming expensive and some cost prohibitive for some areas, but if you don't have flood insurance and you are flooded, your homeowner's insurance policy will not cover that flooding. So you're going to have to go. You're not going to have insurance for it. And I'm going to tell you, after 2016 floods, we learned a very valuable lesson. The average consumer who did not have flood insurance got on average $8,500. The average consumer. The average consumer who had flood insurance when the flood hit 2016 got on average $93,000. That's a big difference. And if you need to recover, 93 versus 85 is a big, big deal, right? Update your home inventory. You gotta know what's in your house. What have you bought lately? I always recommend to people after big holidays, Christmas, birthdays, after the new year, always go back and update your home inventory. There's an app out there. It's called the NAIC Home Inventory app, and you can put it on your phone. Use that cell phone. This is a tool. This is a tool for you. And if you have this at your disposal, you can take pictures of everything prior to having an issue. Update your inventory. You bought a new TV, you need to update that inventory. You bought new furniture, update that inventory. Make sure that you know what you've bought. Take pictures of your receipts. It is a big deal. Have copies of your policy. Know the difference again between that policy jacket, or what the policy language is, and that declarations page. It will make a difference. I, for example, have a copy on my cell phone. I have a copy in my cloud. My brother in Houston has a copy of my actual policy information, just in case I'm displaced and can't get to it. I often laugh with them about it, because they're more likely to flood than we are. But it's just making sure that we're covered, right? And we know where those things are.
So NAIC, that's the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. Can you get that app through the App Store?
No, yeah, you can get it through the App Store. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
NAIC.org. Say NAIC Home Inventory App. You can get it at the App Store. Yes, you can.
NAIC Home Inventory App. Okay.
Yes.
We'll make a note of that and make sure that our folks know how to get that. We have a few questions rather that are already in the queue. And if it's okay with you, Mr. Henderson, we're going to jump right into some of those.
Absolutely.
Our first caller comes from Eileen in Baton Rouge, and I'm going to go ahead and let Eileen take it away. See if I can get to Eileen. Eileen, are you there? Let's see.
Hello?
Oh, here we go. Can you hear us, Eileen?
Hello? Hello?
Eileen, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We got you. Go ahead and ask your question for Mr. Henderson.
I actually have 4 questions, but they can be answered with quick answers and a yes or no. Just a little background. I had house insurance with Mason. Mason left the state in June of 2022. I had paid for a full year through October 2022. Due for a reimbursement for 4 months. I was sent a reimbursement check, and shortly after, I received a letter that said, "Do not deposit the check." Mason funds were frozen. I went on the internet, picked up a number for Mason in Florida, got no answer. So I called the Louisiana insurance office, and I was told that Louisiana would pick up the reimbursement for us. That was 3 or 4 months ago. My first question is, will I ever get reimbursed for the 4 months that I paid to Mason? If so, when? My second question is.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Let's handle the first question first, if that's all right. Ron,
Sure.
do you have an answer for Eileen?
The answer is yes. You need to go to LIGA, LIGA.org. LIGA is the company in Louisiana Insurance Guarantee Association. They are handling all of those payments and back payments for companies that went under. So go to LIGA.org.
That's on just put it in my computer here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Second question: is there any way that your office or the legislature can require, ask, or even beg them to these insurance companies that are leaving the state to at least honor the remaining months that the consumer has already paid?
It depends. If a company has gone out of business and they've been put in receivership and they're in liquidation, there's no way we can do it because that company's no longer in effect and they can't actually have anything on their book, right? The company becomes bankrupt for lack of
That's what I got. The letter is frozen. So the answer is no.
Yeah,
okay.
The answer is no.
3. I have 3 properties insured. First one is with Safeco, second with Foremost, a third with U.S. Assured. Do you know of any of these companies that were questionable or leaving the state, or that I need to be getting out of soon, so that before they leave the state?
The answer is no, and I couldn't tell you until until the court would order, if there was a court order. At this time, we don't know of any companies that are going out except for one, that UPC, which was already doing a runoff in Louisiana.
Got it. Okay. Well, thank you to Eileen, and thank you, Ron, for answering those questions. I want to do a quick reminder that if you have a question for Mr. Henderson here with the Department of Insurance, hit *3 on your phone keypad, *3. That gets you into our queue, and we will have a screener record your question, and then we'll get you right in to ask your question of Mr. Henderson. So *3, and then we will handle it from there. I want to quickly go to a question that was asked from Channel 4, WWL in New Orleans, from Leah. She wants to ask Mr. Henderson, has the state had any interest from insurance companies that are interested in signing policies in the state after the incentive program was approved? As I mentioned at the beginning, the legislature passed a $45 million incentive fund to incentivize insurance companies to either return to the state or to begin writing policies again. And it's only been 2 or 3 weeks since the conclusion of the session. But Ron, do you want to field that one? And then I guess maybe give us a timeline of when you see the possibility of insurance companies coming back to the state.
Okay. Yes, we've had companies that have inquired. We have one company that has put their application in as of Thursday last week. We had between we have 10 plus companies who are actually going to put an application in. Once that application has been reviewed and their solvency and everything has been verified, we're looking at probably, what's this, February, March, maybe April, mid-April, before a company can start writing business. I'm not privy to some of the other information that's available as to when things are going to happen. However, we know we want them writing business and knowing what's on their book of business before June 1, when they're going to have to get reinsurance for that book of business.
Okay. Thank you. That's a great answer to that question. We're now going to go to Sandra. She is struggling with getting homeowners insurance on a vacant house, and she's tried several companies, including Citizens. I'm going to go ahead and put her through. Sandra, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Sandra, go ahead and ask your question again to Mr. Henderson. Make sure I got it right.
Good morning, Mr. Henderson. My
Morning.
family has an
Go ahead, Sandra.
hello. Okay,
Go ahead,
Mr.
Sandra.
Henderson. My family has an estate piece of property in New Orleans East. It's a house and it's vacant. Nobody lives there. I've been trying to get hurricane coverage when in hail. Tried Louisiana Citizens, and they say they do not insure vacant property. I've tried independent agencies. They'll write me a policy for theft and fire and that, but they won't write me a hurricane, wind and hail policy for this property. What other resources can I go to?
You need to ask for a certain type. You might want to just get a dwelling policy, right? Vacant properties are usually hard to insure because, again, there's nobody there. There's no one there to see that there's a leak that needs to be fixed, or something may have happened to the property that needs to be fixed immediately. So vacant properties are usually harder to insure. I would ask for a dwelling policy that's going to cover fire, burglary, glass break. It should cover some bit of wind, hail damage, but you have to be sure. You need to ask the proper questions and make sure that you're
Yeah, I
asking
did.
the agent for a dwelling.
I did. They will give me that. They won't include wind and hail and hurricane coverage.
So if you can forward your information to me, I can take a look and find out where the breakdown is and see if Citizens is actually I think they're covering that. So we need to make sure. Okay.
All right.
So let me give you my information. It's
Okay.
Ron
Go
R-O-N.
ahead.
Go ahead. You can go.
Well, no, I was just going to say I'm taking down Sandra's number and I'll get it to you, Ron. But why don't you go ahead and give out your information for everyone else on the call?
Yeah, it's Ron R-O-N Henderson at L D as in dog, I as in ice cream .L A as in apple .gov GOV as in violin, or you can call at 225-219-4775.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Sandra, we've also got your information, so we'll try to connect the both of you after this call. Thank you very much for your question. And we're going to go to our next question, which is a tough one, but we'll give it a shot. So Marvin in New Orleans wants to know about improvements to the levee system along Highway 90. Marvin, I'm going to put you in. Marvin, you there?
Yes, sir.
Marvin, go ahead and ask your question. We'll do our best to give it an answer.
Yes, sir. I live along Highway 90. It's an evacuation route to get out of the hurricanes. And I was wondering, they built a levee system along the Intercoastal to protect St. Bernard, and now the water's diverted directly to our residents right here in Venetian Isles. My flood insurance is getting to the extent that they want like $12,000 a year to insure my house. and I can't afford it. And if they would build a levee along the coastline here by the railroad tracks, it would save the integrity of everything on the east coast of the state. Plus, it would preserve the integrity of the railroad. And I'm more than sure they would be willing to help you to dump the mud to actually build the levee. So why are they not dealing with this instead of building levees up along Lake Pontchartrain, a man shack towards Baton Rouge, to protect the water from going into our area? Can you tell me, do they have any intention upon building anything?
Unfortunately, that's not an issue that we deal with at the Louisiana Department of Insurance. Flood insurance, levies, all that stuff is federal government. I would encourage you to talk to our congressional delegation, your state senator, your U.S. senator, U.S. congressman. They should be able to give you better answers. Also, FEMA and who was it?
Yeah, because I've been down here 30 years, and the price of the insurance is continuously going up. And when they have catastrophes all over the country, they go to FEMA to help support and finance that. Why they don't have some type of a insurance policy that everybody buys that would cover any kind of catastrophe, whether it be a mudslide or rainfall or floods or whatever it is, to help the people throughout the country?
Yes, sir. I understand your, but that's a federal issue. It's not going to be the Louisiana Department of Insurance. I can't answer that question soundly for you. I can only give you my opinion and how the federal government looks at these issues. The flood insurance program is not actually an insurance program. It's a federal program. It's a federal program. Now you've seen these rate increases. I can tell you a little bit about the rate increases because we're doing risk rating 2.0, which is what the federal government had come up with in order to price the cost of flood policies properly. We are still trying to get some information on that and how they actually do it, what they're using as the factors to say this is what your flood insurance is supposed to cost. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of transparency there. Our delegation, Troy Carter, Senator Cassidy, Senator Kennedy, and a few others, Representative Higgins and a few others in there, Representative Graves, Congressman Graves, they are definitely on top of trying to get us access to the information that will allow us to understand how the program is being priced, but they haven't gotten us there yet.
Thank you, Ron. And I want to go quickly to a question that is popping up, and it's regarding advocacy plans that AARP has in regard to these issues. And what I will tell Mr. Room out there in Metairie, Louisiana, is that AARP is, we have been hearing from several individuals who have either lost their homeowners insurance or have been experiencing the increase in premiums, which is, again, why we wanted to have this teletown hall with everyone this morning. We will be advocating on behalf of the 50 plus on this issue when the legislative session rolls around, and beyond that. We will also be making sure that we're advocating for consumer protections and making sure that we are supporting our membership here in Louisiana. This is affecting thousands of our members across the state. And so we'll not only be monitoring this issue, but we'll be advocating on behalf of our membership. So I wanted to just let Douglas know that we are working on his behalf as well as others, and this will be an issue that we definitely pay attention to for the foreseeable future. I want to go quickly to Florence, who has a question. Florence is in New Orleans, and she wants to know about new companies as they come to the state, and as they do come back to the state, will she have to remain with Louisiana Citizens Insurance? So, Florence, are you there?
I am. How are you?
Doing great. Why don't you ask your question of of Mr. Henderson. And real quickly, before you do, Florence, I want to remind everybody that if you want to ask your question of Mr. Henderson, please dial *3 on your phone keypad. *3 will get you right into our queue, and you'll be able to ask your question. So, Florence, go ahead.
Good day, Mr. Henderson. My question is, after being placed with Louisiana citizens from a failed company, will Louisiana citizens take insure people that they have and place them to new companies as they come in so that they could potentially, and I'm assuming that going with a company other than Louisiana citizen may yield a lower premium for a lot of people? That's what I'm assuming, the possibility. Will that happen, or we will stay with Louisiana citizens and the new companies only deal with new policies going forward?
Well, great question, and I think everyone needs to hear this. So these companies that are coming in, especially under the incentive program, have to take at least 50% of their business out of the go zone area, which is those 37 or so parishes that were under the declaration of emergency declaration, which includes Orleans, Jefferson, St. Bernard, et cetera, down that area. So those companies are going to be looking for policies to come out of citizens, quite frankly. When those companies come in, we will make an announcement that there's a new company in and this is their contact. Some of those companies are going to go directly to citizens and say, okay, we want X amount of policies out of citizens. And that company will take that policy and put it on their books. You can go to an independent agent or have your agent look at, if they're writing for this company, look at canceling your citizens policy and writing it with the new company. That should yield, if you haven't used premium, say for example, if your renewal is going to come up in, say, November, and you get that policy off the books now on citizens, and then you'll get a refund on that premium that would have gone out through November. So there are a couple of ways to do it. The companies will be looking for policies out of citizens. They're going to request block business. They're going to have their agents out there looking to move business onto their books, because in order for them to earn the money, now remember, this incentive program is not a giveaway. They have to earn this money by actually doing the things and working within the parameters of that incentive program. So they need that business out of citizens, absolutely. And I think that you're going to have a great opportunity to get your policy out of citizens and in with a company, and it's going to be at a cheaper premium. Yes.
Thank you, Ron. We have an online question that I want to quickly cover. We focus a lot of our attention on, south of I-10, and for good reason, obviously. But some of the areas that get overlooked are areas like Alexandria, Louisiana. And so Dabney up in Alexandria is curious, when will agents begin to write new policies in Alexandria?
We haven't seen any companies not really writing in Alexandria. They are less affected, although they were affected by Hurricane Laura, Delta, and probably Zeta a little bit. But we hadn't had a lot of issues with placing policies above Alexandria and above. It's pretty open market. Most of the problems we're seeing is below I-10, I-12, the I-10, I-12 corridor. So I would say if you're with a company, you should just shop your policy with your agent. If that agent is a captive agent, I would say go to an independent agent who can shop it with multiple companies. In reviewing your policy and reviewing your coverage, make sure that you're getting the same or better coverage when you go and shop that policy. And, you should come out fairly well. And we're not seeing hearing a whole lot of issues with people not being able to get policies in between ALEC and above.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron. If you're just joining us, again, this is a live telephone town hall and an interactive forum where you can ask questions of Louisiana Department of Insurance Deputy Commissioner Ron Henderson, who is fielding questions about the current homeowners insurance crisis here in Louisiana. If you would like to ask a question at any point during this call, just again, press *3 on your telephone keypad and we'll get you connected to him right away. We're talking about the issues south of I-10, and is this just a sign of things to come due to climate change and other factors? I mean, are we looking at this just being a long-term crisis in Louisiana?
I think we're experiencing a lot of hurricanes. The frequency and severity has gotten worse over the past couple of years. I mean, in 2 year time, we had 4 hurricanes. 2 were Laura, and Ida were, Cat 4, Cat 5s. We're starting to see it more frequently. We are seeing areas that are getting a lot of wind damage and debris damage or flooding. I mean, is it climate change? I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but it looks like it's really from an insurance standpoint. Companies are private entities, right? They're not here to lose money. They're here to make money, just like every other private entity. So the private market has to step up and see that it's available, and that is a good place to write in Louisiana. That's one of the things we have to market as the insurance commissioner's office. Commissioner Donald went to London. He went to Bermuda to talk to the reinsurers, and they understand that we are a good market, right? We don't have multi-million-dollar homes on the coast. We have working communities, people who work and live in the coastal areas, fishermen, oil workers. My dad worked in the oil industry. My family's from Morgan City and Franklin, Louisiana. So I grew up in that area. So the story we have to tell is after the hurricanes, after the problems, that we've built back better. We have new roofs, all those old trees and foliage, that's all gone. We built up to a standard. We just passed the statewide building code last session, and it went into effect on January 1, where we've upgraded the code to a standard that's 95% of the fortified program, right? So we want to make sure that people are building better, building stronger, building higher, and that will show the companies that we are, in fact, serious about making sure our housing stock is hardened. There's a way to harden our housing stock. The better housing we have, the cheaper the prices are going to be, right? And companies are going to write that. When you get companies coming in droves, then you'll see a market decrease in the pricing.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you again, Ron. We have a question from Lydia in New Orleans, and she's wanting to know about other insurance companies coming to Louisiana. I mean, obviously, this is a real hot topic, especially after the special session that was called to address it, and because of the challenges that we're facing. But she wants to ask a question about transferring her citizens insurance. And so I'm going to go ahead and go live to Lydia now. Lydia, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Lydia, go ahead and ask your question of Ron Henderson.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Henderson. My name is Lydia Lagarde, and recently, only this month, my insurance was transferred from Louisiana citizens to a company called TWFG, Woodland Financial Services. And I guess my question is that a legitimate company? Because I was not informed prior to that it was going to be transferred from citizens to this new company. So I guess, is this company legitimate? Because I've already paid them my premium starting from February. I pay it quarterly. So it's paid from February, March, and April already.
Okay.
To the new company.
Okay,
but
so I can't tell you that without actually getting into my system to see, okay, is this company a company that you want to be writing it at? And I'm going to tell you, if your agent or Citizens transferred that policy out, then it's probably a good company.
Yeah, my
In all
agent did
likelihood.
transfer it. My agent did, because I talked to my agent and they did transfer the policy.
Yeah. So that in all likelihood, that's a good company, and they are writing in Louisiana. Now, again, I can't give you any particulars, but if your agent wrote that into that policy into that company, I would think that your agent wouldn't put you in a position where you are at a disadvantage, right?
Okay, well, and I
So
can appreciate that. I can appreciate that. And then one more question. Okay, I have my policy information, my policy from Louisiana citizens. Should I get a new policy from this new insurance company, or should I stay with the policy that I have with Louisiana citizens?
well, for new companies writing the policy, you have to figure out, ask your agent when that transfer occurred, and if that book of business or that transfer, uh, when you're going to be on that new company's book as a independent policy, right? Because sometimes their companies will come in and get the policies, and it will stay on citizens until the renewal happens, and then you go on to the companies. It will stay on
Okay.
the citizens' policy. It will be written in the same
Okay. Well, let me
style,
ask you:
right?
if I've already paid them, if I've already made a payment to this new company,
Mhm.
shouldn't that officiate the situation of the transfer?
Well, they have the policy, but I don't know how they took the policy. Did they write it on their paper yet? I mean, when I say their paper, it becomes their policy, but is it still written under citizens' terms and conditions? Has it transferred to their terms and conditions yet? And that's a
Well,
question for your agent. Ask your agent.
okay, I sure will. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ron. And we're going to go now to Douglas in Metairie, who wants to ask his question. We had mentioned some of our advocacy efforts earlier in the call, but he would like to ask his question live. So we're going to go quickly to Douglas. Hey, Douglas,
Hello.
you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
We got you.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I wanted to go live with this because I wanted to put a little bit of context around my question and get a few more
Sure.
particulars in. And by the way, I'm a trained community organizer. Now I'm retired. I'm age 74. I was trained getting my MSW at Tulane in community organizing, and all the way back from before then with anti-war protests. I was a lead organizer across 2 campuses protesting the Vietnam War, blah, blah. Okay. And then I've, through the years, done some work. Recently was on a special committee with the Preservation Resource Center about certain things. Now, and I remember, I want to say this, I remember the thing that most impressed me with AARP in the area, which was a few years back, maybe this was, I don't know, as many as 10 years ago, time flies, or more, there was a boondoggle, multi-billion-dollar boondoggle pork barrel plan to reroute train tracks from their present back belt, it's called, going through parts of Old Metairie, which they've been there for 100 years, on the path through the borders of a much more low income area. And AARP was successful to the point of getting Mitch Landrieu, then mayor, to stop that plan. And they did it through a series of community meetings, fairly small, but community meetings where people actually came as a group and were able to easily voice their concerns to a couple of or so authorities. I just cite that as an example of what I have. It's the only time I've actually seen AARP do that in the.
Uh-oh, looks like we lost Douglas. I'm not quite sure what his question was, but what I can reiterate is what we what he was referring to was some of our work in Holly Grove, which has been a number of years. What I can say, though, is that we are going to be focusing on this issue during the legislative session, and it's something that will not just be monitoring, but we'll also be supporting. If there are issues out there that require, that introduce new consumer protections for homeowners, we will, of course, be advocating on behalf of our membership. This is an issue that we're taking very seriously, which again is why we're having this telephone town hall today. So we just want to let everyone know that we will be indeed advocating on behalf of our membership to hold accountable the insurance companies that will be writing new policies here, and then we'll also be advocating for consumer protections. I want to also just quickly make a note of a couple different resources that Ron mentioned towards the beginning of our call. He referenced the Louisiana Insurance Guarantee Association. If you're having issues or claims against insolvent insurers, please go to www.laiga.org. And you can get more information on possible claims that you've had, and that can also help you address challenges you've had with insolvent insurance companies. The other resource that he mentioned is the NAIC, which is a home inventory app that allows you to really create a record of all of your belongings. So going into a hurricane season, you can upload your items that you have, so you can quickly use that resource if you unfortunately have an issue with a storm. So we want to make everyone aware of those two resources. I want to quickly go to Jean. She's been waiting for a long time on the line. Jean is in New Orleans, and she has a question about whether or not when these new companies come in, will they basically take the money that the state's offering them and leave right after the next disaster happens? What protections are in place to make sure that that doesn't happen? So, Jean, are you there?
Yes.
Go ahead and ask your question really quickly to Ron.
That's my question. You've explained it very well, because I had an insurance that I thought was pretty good, and last year they let the say it. So I had to go with Citizens, but I'm fearful about leaving Citizens and going to another insurance company, and then they take the money that the government is offering to come in, take our money to insure us, and then the slightest thing, they take the money and run. What guarantee do we have that next year, if we should get a hurricane, the same thing is not going to happen again? They're going to take the money and run. We have to go right back to Citizens. Do we have any kind of guarantee that they're not going to do this?
So great question. What I'm going to tell you is these companies, we have a whole list of things that they have to qualify for. First of all, they have to earn this money. They earn it at 20% per year. So they're not getting a blank check. They take that money. For example, if we give them $5 million worth of incentive money, they have to match that $5 million with their own $5 million and pledge it to the state of Louisiana. Then they take that $5 million, which is now $10 million between our grant and their money, and they have to write $20 million worth of premium, right? But they can only earn our money every year for 5 years, 20% per year for 5 years. And until they get, they can't get any money that they don't earn. So say a hurricane hits next year and that company goes out. If they haven't earned that 20%, we don't give them any money. And if we've given them money, we get to take it back from them. So that's one of the guarantees. Another guarantee is we have heightened solvency.
But the homeowner is still up the creek now. She's without insurance.
Well, we are working on it. We're trying to get more insurers, and the more insurers we have in, the better it's going to be, right? Look, I wish I can say ironclad that all these insurers are going to do what they're supposed to do. I mean, we living in the reality of sometimes companies don't do what they're supposed to. We can monitor and make sure they do what they're supposed to do. There's no guarantees in this. Hey, we want to make sure we do the right thing. We take care of our business here at the department, and we make sure that these companies are solvent and able to pay the claims that they are responsible for. I can tell you we will do that part. Now, they can't just take our money and run. They have to earn the money. We have a lot of provisions in there, triggers, where they are going to have to actually abide by those rules or they can't do the program. And if they're not earning that money, we get to keep it. And that's just it.
Thank you very much, Ron. I want to call everyone's attention to a poll that we're currently doing right now live here during this teletown hall. We've talked a lot about our advocacy efforts for this upcoming legislative session, and then, of course, beyond that. If this is an issue that you'd like to get involved in, if this is an issue where you'd like to tell your story or advocate in some way, whenever we begin to address some of these issues that will be coming up at the state legislature here in Baton Rouge, please press 1 on your keypad, and that registers your contact information, and then we will reach out to you after this call to discuss ways that you can get involved. So if you would like to join our advocacy efforts, press 1 on your keypad, and we will reach out to you after this call. That's a great way to advocate on your own behalf as well as advocate on behalf of others. There's a question we have in the online queue. Ron, I want to go ahead and call your attention to this one. Can changes to, and you may have already addressed this, and if you did, I apologize, but can changes to homeowners insurance be made during the actual hurricane season, which begins June 1st and runs pretty much through November?
Yes, changes can be made to the policy. However, once a hurricane enters the Gulf, there are not going to be any changes made. Companies won't accept them. It is a business decision. Most companies won't do it.
So best rule of thumb is if you need to make changes, do that sooner rather than later.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. We're going to, again, make a call out to folks. If you would like to ask a question, press *3 on your keypad, and we would love to get your question into Ron Henderson with the Louisiana Department of Insurance. We have another question from WWL in New Orleans. Their question is, how many insurers are writing policies currently now in the state, and how many are needed to get where we need to go to be able to properly function and have a fundamentally sound insurance market? That's Channel 4, WWL in New Orleans is asking that question, Ron.
Okay. So let's answer in reverse. So how many are needed? As many as we can get here. The issue is always this is a private market issue. And if we don't have insurers writing, the more the merrier, because competition spurs price changes. So if I like to explain it to when I teach children. I teach a couple of courses to high schools about insurance literacy, and I go, hey, if I have one loaf of bread on the shelf, how much that bread costs? That bread costs what it costs. One company, one brand, one loaf of bread. If I have 15 companies have 15 loaves of bread on the shelf, how much does it cost now? Well, now the competition is going to spur the sale of the bread on how much it's going to cost. If everything's all equal, right? So as many companies, we have probably 145 companies that are actually writing, and I'm looking at below I-10, I-12, and I can't give you a solid number that says these companies are writing here or these companies are writing there, because some companies have a moratorium and they're not writing at all. They're just servicing the policies they already have. So we need to get these companies in here. We need the bigger issue is getting as many policies off of citizens as possible. We went from 36,000 policies back 2 years ago to now 125,000 policies. The more policy you have on Citizens Book, the next time we just got that 63% rate increase. So if we have 125,000 policies on Citizens' book of business, when it's time to redo it reinsures, that's going to be another, I don't know, let's say 25 to 30% increase, which may translate in Orleans, Jefferson, surrounding areas, probably 50%. I mean, I'm just kind of guessing that number out of my head. So we need to depopulate Citizens. That is a big priority. If Citizens has to buy business or buy reinsurance for 125,000 policies, that's going to be costly, and we don't want to be there, and that's one of the bigger issues. And we need the competition. I need as many companies to come in here and write business as possible.
Thank you for that, Ron. We are getting towards the end of our telephone town hall. Again, we want to thank everybody for taking time out of their morning to join us and for asking their questions and just for all of their insight. I know it's helpful to us, and I'm sure it's helpful for Ron to hear back from consumers in our state. We have a question from Linda, who's in Marrero. She's with State Farm, and she's dealing with bills that she piled up during evacuation from Hurricane Ida. So we're going to go to Linda out in Marrero. Linda, are you there?
Yes, I am. I was just asking a question. When I evacuated for Hurricane Ida, I'm with State Farm. They refused to pay any bills that were accumulated from the evacuation. Will that ever change?
So last year, after dealing with that issue with State Farm, so you're probably in the area, Marrero, I don't think there was a mandatory evacuation order. So
no.
We actually ordered the companies to pay for evacuation expenses. State Farm took us to court, and they won. So the legislation that came through last year said that, okay, people can take into account and take into effect the all of the prevailing information in order to do an evacuation, right? So if it looks like the better thing to do is to leave than to stay, then the companies have to take that into account before they decline issuing evacuation monies, right? So it should change. It should have changed with the legislation that was passed last year, and we'll see what happens.
All right. Thank you so much.
I just want to get
Thank
one
you.
thing in before we go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Andrew.
Yeah, sure. Go
I want
ahead.
to make sure people understand that they can contact the Department of Insurance 259 1-800-259-5300. That's the toll-free number. They can give us a call. You can go online, www.ldi.la.gov. We have online. You can do online questions. You can contact us and ask us to take a look at some things for you. If you have a complaint, you can file a complaint. There are varied ways that you can contact the Department of Insurance. So don't think that you have to go out and hire an attorney or whatever up front. Look, you may need an attorney at some point in the process, but it should be anyone. All right.
Ron, go ahead and give us that number one more time, a little slower, so we make sure that everybody can write it down.
It's 1-800-259-5300. Email or the website is www.ldi.la.gov.
All right, so the number is 1-800-259-5300, and the website is www.ldi.la.gov. And we are at the end of our Teletown Hall. Want to quickly ask a poll question. We talked a little bit about this earlier in the call. It's regarding what the legislature can do to help homeowners who are dealing with insurance issues in Louisiana. And the question is, do you think state elected officials should do more to address the homeowners insurance crisis in Louisiana? If you think the answer is yes, press 1, and no, press 2. So the question again, do you think state elected officials should do more to address the homeowners insurance crisis in Louisiana? Again, 1 for yes and 2 for no. And while folks are answering the survey question, Ron, I want to give you the opportunity again to share any other information with our listeners. We've had a large group on today, so hopefully we're getting a lot of great information out to a lot of people. But Ron, is there anything else you'd like to share before we close?
I would just definitely like to reiterate, take a look at your policies. Look at the information that comes in the mail from your insurance company. Please don't set it aside because it may have changed your policy. Every year you get a new policy, there may have been some changes. Do yourself a favor. Open it up, take a look at it, call your agent if you have any questions. If you need some additional help, you can give us a call here at the Department of Insurance. Don't think that everything is going to remain the same from year to year. Go in, read that policy, take a look at what those issues are that you may need coverage. Right now, we're seeing spikes in total insured value, what it costs to rebuild the home. Those are things that you really need to take a look at on that insurance policy and in your deck page, because your price may be a combination of increasing your total insured value and a rate increase maybe your company had received prior to your renewal. Take your time and go through it. Don't leave yourself uncovered. If you don't have flood insurance, get it. Don't be afraid to talk to that agent. That agent is your lifeline. They're supposed to help you to kind of understand what's going on. And if they're not helping you, you may need to find a new agent. So if I can, read, understand that policy as much as you can. If you have questions, ask those questions. Make sure you do your inventory. It's imperative, it's important, and make sure you have that policy somewhere. The policy language. Policy is not 2 pages long. It's between 26 and 30 pages long. Make sure you get a copy of your policy.
And I guess carve out some time to read it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ron, and thank you again to everyone for participating in this discussion on what we feel, of course, is a very important topic. We apologize if we were unable to get to your question this morning, but if you stay on the line, you'll be able to leave us a voicemail with your question or comment. So thank you again. Goodbye and enjoy your week. Thank you.